This is Key to the Kingdom. It was designed by Paul Bennett and featured art by Kevin Walker. It was originally published in the United States by Golden in 1990. I'm super excited to have this one on the show. I love the board art and it has some unique qualities that I think you're going to enjoy as well. So let's dive right in, starting with the awesome box art. We have the Wizard of Plenty and our hero facing off against a fearsome dragon with this nice gold lettering, Key to the Kingdom, just popping right out at you. This is definitely a showstopper, and I would easily rank this amongst my favorite board game boxes just for the art alone. When we flip it over, we see some kids enjoying the game and showing off the unique folding game board. It's a lift-off top box. It has a small cardboard space saver and a vacuum-formed organizer. Now, it's advised in the instructions to put this monster card deck in that organizer when you're playing and use one pocket for the monster card draw pile and one for the discard pile. But I found that organizer was pretty ungainly compared to just plain having the deck within easy reach of the board, so I did not use it for that purpose. Otherwise, the quality was very nice, and everything stows very nicely in this box and quite securely. When we look at the game itself, oh, I love this game board. Not only is the art awesome, I mean, realistically, one of the biggest draws for me was the illustrations, and I think as you look at this, you will agree. And there is quite a bit of real estate here for illustrations. Now, players will start at the bottom of the board here. 1 to 6 adventurers will each be issued 8 pieces of equipment ranging from swords and shields to fire and food. They'll all get the same loadout of 8 items. As they traverse the map in search of treasure, they will encounter hazards by landing on these white arrows here, and to get past the hazard, they will need to consult this handy hazard handbook that has instructions for how you bypass any hazard that you can encounter within the kingdom. Now, sometimes you can get right past a hazard by simply rolling a certain number. Other times you need to possess certain equipment, which you either spend or use to get by and still manage to retain, depending on the combinations of equipment you have and types of encounters that you reach at these hazards. Now, the goal for players is to reach one of these key locations, like the Ice Palace or the Banshee Towers, or as the map expands, there are 4 additional locations as well to visit. Each location has a mystery treasure. At the beginning of the game, these 6 treasure cards are shuffled and placed into these envelopes. Players have no idea which treasure they're getting. The goal is to get the Key to the Kingdom, of which there's only one, and 1 additional treasure, and then get back to the start. When you start making your escape, other players can chase you down and steal your treasure. Now, they'll never actually get to see the treasure because you'll always want to try to keep that a secret. So you can look at your treasure when you find it, keep it in your little blind envelope. When other players try to steal it from you, they have to draw a blind from your pile of treasure. So if you have 2 of them, you have a 50-50 shot that they're only going to steal 1 piece of treasure and not necessarily the Key to the Kingdom. Or you could get very unlucky and get the 1 serpent card amongst the treasure cards. This requires that you visit the snake pit before you make your escape. So it kind of serves to slow you down. If you happen to get a treasure, the Key to the Kingdom, and get a serpent, you're kind of stuck making sure that you stop there before you escape. Now, this all sounds well and good, traversing this map, trying to make it to key locations and collect treasure. However, the whole time, players will also be pursued by the Demon King, who teleports around the map. You see, at its core, this game is a roll and move. So players will roll this 8-sided die. That's right, you get a little diamond-shaped 8-sided die. I thought that was neat. When you roll, not only is that the amount of spaces your hero can move, but you'll notice these little spaces with black helmets around the board that each have a number. The Demon King will teleport to the corresponding numbered space, and if he happens to land on or next to a player, that player is sent to the dungeon on the particular map that they're on. So each map will have key locations and dungeons that players can be sent to. If they're in the dungeon, they have to try to roll a 1 or an 8 to escape over the course of 3 turns, otherwise they sacrifice equipment to leave. Now, how do we expand the map? All right, so this actually says a whirlpool of fun fantasy and adventure right on the box, right? We've got these 2 whirlpools in the map. As an adventurer makes their way to the whirlpool, once they navigate to the center, it initiates the change in the map. However, any other player on that map gets 3 rolls to either navigate into the center here to join that hero or off the map to safety before the board opens up. Oh, trying to get my fingernail on there. Here we go. Oh, and reveals the whole other territory. Now, I've seen a popular video talking about the gameplay that explains that if you don't manage to get to the whirlpool or off the map to safety in 3 rolls, you get trapped and the board collapses on you. That's only partially true. If you don't make it off, it's not part of the action to crush the figurine, nor is it the action to kill the character. Instead, if you're in possession of treasure, you lose that treasure and you end up starting in this void space instead of the whirlpool when you respawn back to play. So you don't really die, you just lose treasure here. And that kind of drove me nuts watching another critique where the person really had a good time smacking the board down on the figurines. And they have these relatively delicate horned helmets, which I think are quite attractive. You really don't want to smash these. These figurines, by the way, are surprisingly detailed for the time. The Demon King is nice, scary, and menacing, but the adventurers, they have swords, shields, lanterns, armor. They have all kinds of equipment that's very visible and cleanly sculpted on them. And it goes part and parcel with the gorgeous art. I also want to point out on this side, so I love that I have played this game where only one side or the other ever got opened before we found the treasure that we wanted. What I found really neat about it is you can somehow get lucky and just have a player manage to get the treasure on the front and that be all they need as well. There are opportunities for the map to play out differently throughout different game sessions. One feature that I thought was kind of fun, interactivity, which oddly enough, this hazard was entirely too easy, but the player will have to build the bridge. So they get these 6 bridge segments that they add as they cross this hazard. So I thought that was funny. Happens the first time they cross it, and then once the bridge is built to the evil tower, it exists. But you'll notice things like there are gates that they have to cross. This is kind of like a little rickety bridge that if you fail to get all the way across, you end up cascading down all these other spots, or like this row of boats, same thing, you cascade down. So there are a lot of spots where as you're trying to cross a hazard, if you fail, they will cause you to take an alternate route. Other hazards will cost you equipment or will trap you in a place. There are some spots where you have to struggle to get out, so you keep rolling for turns on end while the other players are making their way towards treasure. Like I said, the monsters that you face, so you're going to get to these locations here. First off, you get past the hazards where these white arrows are, and if you manage to retain enough equipment to get to where these black arrows are and face a monster, you are going to face an imaginative rogues gallery of crazy cretins. We've got everything from the terrible tarantula to the mad monk to the dreaded druid, the alien stalker, and the insectoid witch. There's too many to list. There's even a flying werewolf. All of them have very cool, unique illustrations and unique rule sets for how you face them. Some of them are as simple as if you happen to have, there's a dragon in here where if all you need to do is give him food. If you happen to have a food card, if you don't, you can't even face him. So there are some times where you get snubbed just because you didn't manage to retain the right amount of equipment. Now, if you lose too much of your equipment early on, all is not lost. You can either visit the Ring of Stones or the Wizard of Plenty, both of which are a bit of a challenge. The Ring of Stones is a little easier to navigate to. The Wizard of Plenty has special rules for crossing the rainbow to get to him. However, that being said, if you get to the Wizard of Plenty, you can earn back any lost treasure, so any treasure that might have been lost while crossing the whirlpools, or you can also get back your lost equipment. The Ring of Stones allows you to get back lost equipment and lost treasure, but also allows you to get a deep magic card. And the deep magic card prevents players from transforming the map via the whirlpool. So let's say somebody lands here and you're still trying to face a monster here. You can throw down a deep magic card and they are not allowed to initiate the whirlpool. So kind of a neat little way. Also, like if you think they're escaping and you want to keep them from escaping, which is really the unspoken truth here. You're not going to be just trying to stop somebody from going to the overworld because you're getting one more treasure. You know they're going to the overworld to escape. And that's the thing is, This game goes from an exciting adventure in the first act where it's mostly exploration, right? The first part of the game when all the explorers are leaving the start location, you're experiencing the art, you're experiencing the world, you're having fun navigating these hazards to these key locations, right? Then we get to the second act where the expanded world opens up, the hazards get to be a little bit more difficult to traverse, you start racking up more treasure, and then the third act becomes a player versus player free-for-all. Once we know that somebody has the key to the kingdom and one treasure and they're trying to make their escape, everybody turns on them. So it's kind of interesting. You have no real incentive other than to turn on each other, other than you're racing to collect treasure in the first two portions of the game, the overworld and when you first get to the second realm. But once you know that somebody has that treasure and they're trying to escape, it's on. And I mean, there's no trying to play passive or anything. This isn't a teamwork game, so 100% you're chasing after them. Now, you might be wondering, how do I steal the treasure if I think they have it? If you land on the same space as them, you can take one treasure at random. So even when you're chasing them down, it's still up to the luck of the roll here. So you're still risking it for the biscuit the whole way back to start. And that's the thing, is your odds are so much worse if you're playing with a full table. If you've got all 6 people and now you have 5 people pursuing you on your escape, it's a lot more difficult than when you're only playing a 2-player game. And I will say, the game's balance does shift quite a bit when you're playing. It feels more chaotic when you have more people, but definitely more fun. When you play a 2-player game, yeah, you can do it, but it really boils down to there's so much space on the board for 2 players that you don't feel the need to compete too much when you're looking for the treasure until you know somebody else has it, and then you're just kamikazeing right at them. So it's I love how this game gets 0 to hyper aggressive like right away. It flips like a switch. It flips just like the realm does. But I do love this expanding game board. I keep, every time I open this up, I see something new, or I just appreciate more detail that I didn't before. This is really the standout for the game. And I know that there was a modern edition made not long ago by Restoration Games. I haven't gotten a copy yet. When I do, I will definitely do a comparison. But I gotta say, having seen the art on that one compared to the art on the game board here, boy, I don't know if I'm the target market for the new one because it looks so much lighter and simpler compared to this. The level of detail on the 1990 Golden Edition, and I think Waddington's did theirs in '89 in the UK. Comment below, let me know if I'm correct on that. I thought the UK got this a year before the United States, but it was the same art. As far as I know, there's no difference really between the games. I think the box art is different, but I think the actual game is pretty much the same. And, you know, this is not a real strategy-heavy game. It is a roll and move. It's a little more than Candyland. You have almost no control over the strategy. You're just telling your character where to go. So don't play this expecting that it's going to be a primer for getting anybody into, like, Dungeons or Dragons. Go for Hero Quest if you want something like that. This is, I would say, as much a board game as it is an extremely light, enjoyable literary experience in the vein of a very light graphic novel. If you are playing with some friends and you want to experience the fun art and read off the hazards, like, that's the thing, is it's kind of ungainly to land on an arrow and then go, okay, so I have to go, so we're at the ice caves here, so stop at the white dagger, immediately roll the die. Did you roll a 5, 6, 7, or 8? Cross to the opposite white dagger. Did you roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4? You're frozen in the caves. Immediately try to escape by using your equipment. Well, then you go to the list of equipment that you need. Do you have fire? Lose it, melt the ice, and move to the either white dagger. Do you have an axe? Roll the dice once. If you roll an odd number, escape. If you roll an even number, lose your axe. I mean, that's so each peril or each hazard, there are a lot of ways that it can play out, causing you to lose equipment and time. Now, before I get too carried away, I also want to point out that the Handy Hazard Handbook and the Rule Book have actually stood up pretty well against the test of time. Both are made of sealed glossy paper. They are printed full color but not full bleed. They've got decent margins here, but they're saddle stitched with staples, and they've held together quite nicely. And you have to use this Hazard Handbook quite extensively to play the game. So obviously it's gotten quite a bit of mileage and held up beautifully. So I hope it continues to do so, and have reason to believe that it will. The monsters, there's so many different ways that you can fight them, but realistically speaking, it almost all comes down to a dice roll or possessing the right equipment. But that's not the point. The real point of the monsters is just how, like the cantankerous gnome. I just cut the deck and I find one that brings a smile to my face. They're also imaginative, unique, and beautifully illustrated. This is a game for somebody who appreciates art. The gameplay style is very, very light, and really for somebody who more or less wants to experience an adventure with their friends that culminates in an exciting player versus player race at the end. Because that's really what it is I think it does balance the attention span pretty well for a casual audience. If you're just chilling with your friends, you can play through this game, you can have some table talk without getting lost. Usually by the time you've gotten to the PvP portion of this game, everything's been seen and people are antsy for the game to get a little action to it. And the chase to the end always just gets everybody pumping so that there's nice energy right when somebody makes it to the finish line. And that's important. You know what I mean? The game kind of flows. Like I said, it's got a first act where everybody's warming up and exploring the overworld, a second act when the world expands, and a third act when they all turn on each other. And it's so much fun. That was a piece falling here. Okay, I don't know if you heard that. That kind of freaked me out just a bit. But there are these cardboard punch-outs that I had left in the box. This is from when these were originally assembled, and I had it sitting here. It took me a second to figure out what that noise was that I heard from the box. I don't know if my microphone picked it up. But I'm sitting here talking to you, and that little disc falls. That caught me a little bit off guard. This game is a hoot. If you get a chance to play Key to the Kingdom, the original 1989-90 edition, whether you're going Waddington's or Golden, I know there were some other publishers in there. This is really an art aficionado's game, first and foremost. This is such a fun party fantasy game. It's suitable for a wide range of audiences. It's a very casual experience, you know what I mean? There's not too much depth to it. You don't get wrapped up in the game. And like I said, it does a good job of giving you a smooth introduction, a nice middle act, and on the back end, it gives you a fun, wacky race where players are just at each other's throats, and it adds so much excitement by the time you reach the finish line. It makes the whole experience worth it. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you love doing these reviews with me, I love doing them with you. Please hit the like and subscribe button so we can review more awesome games together. Thanks a lot for joining me, and we'll see you next time.